Here is my bibliography for Confederation. Some people also call it a works cited page. As you can see, even though things are not in alphabetical order, I did list both the websites and the books I used for this particular book, as it is a work of nonfiction. I always do bibliographies, which in this case is pretty badly arranged because it was put together at the last moment, and once something is printed in Canada, you can't legally change it. That's just how our copyright laws are, and I guess that does make sense. After all, I did train as a librarian assistant or a library tech, depending on what exactly you want to call it. This is the bibliography, and you can see here, for example, The Story of Canada, book number 1, The Beginning, by Janet Land and Chris Moore, pages 76 to 78 and 93 to 103. Copyright 2007. That is how I have everything here. And this one here is the Prime Ministers of Canada video series, and the little asterisk is the years of instability in chapter 16. So that's why I have Sir John Abbott, Sir John Davis Barrett Thompson, Sir Mackenzie Bowell, and Dr. Charles Tupper all listed here. I did use Wikipedia, as you can see in the bottom, but I did consult it and then double check my sources because Wikipedia is sometimes very accurate and sometimes not very accurate. It depends on how well each individual section of a web page is formatted or researched for that matter, because I found stuff that totally contradicts things on it, not just with this, but with stuff in general, and I found stuff that can be corroborated by other sources. So even though this isn't very well arranged, it does necessarily kind of put everything into context for what I researched. Now, when it comes to fiction books, I do not do bibliographies, although as a librarian, I have come across a couple of fiction books with non-fiction sources listed in them, but not very much outside of the religion section. So if someone writes a book about the afterlife, for example, then maybe they'd put a few Bible quotes in there and list where you can find them. That's just about the only fictional circumstance I can find where someone puts a bibliography in a fiction book. It's kind of silly, I know, but it is sometimes done. But as this is nonfiction, like all my other nonfiction books, then that is what I have done here, so I can list all the videos and things I have seen. Now, most of these ones, as far as I'm aware, are all publicly available. I only use publicly available sources. The only thing that might not be publicly available is maybe something like a YouTube video. Somebody may have deleted that or taken it down for whatever reason, usually because of modern politics conflicting somebody's opinion of something. You know how that is, it just sometimes that happens. And it's unfortunate that it does because it really robs us of our history. And it's history told right, which is why I wrote this book in the first place, because I want history to be told right without any political interference whatsoever, because at the time I was writing this, Sir John A. Macdonald was starting to come under attack for his legacy, and to a certain degree, given all his drinking, that does make sense. But I knew I had to do it at the time, because otherwise he would be completely obscure to most people, and if he is ever talked about, it's in a very bad and negative way. So I wrote this book to kind of fix his memory and bring some of the other fathers of the Confederation to light. And that's partly why I did this. And I'm talking about this in bibliography because the bibliography is the very last thing a person normally sees within a book, unless there's some sort of other appendice or something, which I can't really think of it. In some older books, bibliography comes before the appendice, but in more modern ones, that's not really the case. Hopefully you had a good day, and be sure to check out any of these sources either online or in your own local public library, if they're available there, and that is why some of them are listed online as well, although I didn't put down what websites because I had physical copies of these books, or I could get them at the local library in St. John, New Brunswick, where I live, because New Brunswick has a province-wide library system. So that is where all these sources come from, and they're publicly available, and I encourage anyone to look up anything they may find interesting, or if they want to check any of these sources to see how well I recorded something. And that is all for today, so have a good day.